Hi everyone, so I am here with a foundation. This is the Pat McGrath Labs Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Foundation. The shade I have is light 2. There is a lighter shade than this light one, I think. It said it was pink undertones. My undertone is more of a cool yellow, kind of like that very, very muted cool yellow undertone. I'm very pale. And pink tends to just kind of bring out the redness, etc. So I'm gonna just go to the swatches really quickly so you can see how it compares to other foundations in my collection, and then we can talk about it. Yes, okay. All right, so this is the Pat McGrath Sublime, whatever, God, I can't even remember, Sublime Perfection Foundation in light 2. This is the other foundation I reviewed recently, and it's the Haus Labs Skin Tech, and that is in 030 Fair Cool, which is more yellow toned, and this one's more kind of peachy toned. This is Estee Lauder DoubleWear in 0N1 Alabaster, which is on the paler end of things. Here's one of my favorites, the Lancome Teint Idole Ultra in 095W. It is also a little bit darker. The undertone is really nice. It works really well on my redness, and it wears really well. So that's why that's probably one of my favorite foundations. And lastly, I wanted to include a drugstore. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Freshwear in 390 Snow. And it looks a little bit less like straight yellow, a little bit more of a warmer yellow, and not quite as peachy as the Pat McGrath. All of these I can wear. The only one that can sometimes look a little strange is the Estee Lauder, because it is more of a pinky neutral undertone versus like yellow, golden, peach, whatever. Those colors are easier for me to wear and don't make my redness look strange. All right, so you can see that it's, and it is listed as peach undertones as opposed to like yellow or golden, whatever undertones. And it is definitely more on the peach side. It's a little bit dark for me, but again, it's within that kind of workable range. In the demo, you'll see it doesn't have a ton of coverage. It seems to build up okay, but it is this very, very thin kind of watery consistency. And I have applied it with my hands or sponges, and they seem to apply pretty similarly. Usually that kind of really watery foundation can be a challenge to apply with a sponge, but this one I found actually does go on okay with a sponge. But it's also something I can just like smear on my face with my hands, which is very unusual. Usually things will kind of settle into my pores when I do that, and this just goes over a like really silicone heavy SPF that I like, the Unseen Sunscreen from Supergoop. Goes over this really well. I do have some kind of flaky areas, and my skin probably could have used some moisturizer underneath this first, but I just put this on plain, which some days is fine, other days it's not. So it did catch on some dry spots. The color, like I said, is a little bit dark, but it's totally workable. I don't know what I was gonna say. I was gonna try to say what like my best match is for foundation, but honestly, I don't even know. I know what I like to wear, and that is what I said in the swatches. The L'Oreal Lancome Teint Idole. The L'Oreal Freshwear also. It wears really nice. It just has fragrance, which is not the greatest, but it's okay. So this does not have a fragrance. It has a very thin consistency. The shade range is good, though. Unless the light one goes lighter, both of them are labeled as fairest. This is not going to work for everybody. If you're very, very pale and, you know, lighter than me, probably not going to work so great for you. Because I wear kind of light to medium coverage, it's easier for me to get away with things that aren't a great match. So I can wear a pretty wide range of shades without it being too much of a problem. I just kind of blend down make sure to blend the line at my jaw, and that's fine. My face is already a little bit darker than the rest of me anyway because of the redness. Because I have a lot of freckles on my face, I'm not looking to cover the freckles. I'm just looking to even things out and take away that redness and just kind of have a nice base where I can kind of play around with the colorful parts of my makeup. As far as wear goes, I have found that, again, with that SPF that I like to wear underneath it, it wears all day nicely. It doesn't get patchy or weird. It doesn't cause, sometimes some foundations, like pretty much any NARS foundation, will cause like the little, where my pores are on my chin, will cause like some spots to appear, and it's like the sebum is trying to escape my face, and I don't know why. Some foundation causes that. This does not, which is nice. And it also doesn't like wear off super fast. I do set it with a powder. I also used the concealer from Pat McGrath because I just went ahead and bought a couple things during the 35% off sale. One of many. They do go on sale pretty regularly. The price, the full price of their product is super high, so I definitely recommend waiting until there is a sale. They do sales quite regularly. It doesn't always apply to everything, but if you can, I would say definitely wait for a sale on this stuff because it's just so expensive. I was trying to find the concealer. Here it is. I used the concealer under my eyes, and the shade I have is L2, which is, I think, what it recommended if you were going to get the Light 2 foundation. It is also not a super bright concealer, which is good with me because I do tend to wear pretty more corrector shades underneath my eyes. I don't like a really bright under eye on me. I think it looks strange, so I'm looking for something that will not be noticeably darker than the rest of my face, but it will just kind of take down the discoloration of my under eye area and like in the corners, take down the kind of bluish tone. I do like the concealer, though I do find it creases. So far I have not figured out a way to make it not crease. My favorite concealers I can get to do that, but this one just I think is a little bit more emollient, and even though I am using like my favorite best powder for those types of situations, it still ends up creasing. So the powder for the foundation itself, I have found I've had good results with all sorts of different powders. Because it's not like super moisturizing or anything, it's not tacky, sticky, it does really dry down and set. I could get away with not using any sort of powder on the drier areas of my face, but if I'm going to be putting a mask on, I do like to powder those areas just in case, to kind of help keep the foundation from kind of catching on the mask. The foundation doesn't really crease much. I find that like whatever creasing I have when I first put it on, I'll try to tap out the creases like around my mouth, up on my forehead, and set it, and it won't get much worse throughout the day. It might, like my forehead probably is the area where it tends to crease the most, and that's for pretty much every foundation. Almost every foundation I have will crease a little bit in that forehead line, and this one does, and it's not a lot. I would say it's on the minimal end of things, so that's nice. It is definitely a little bit more of the blurring kind of texture. If I have to make sure to really kind of press it into where I have some small scars and more visible pores, and it will really kind of smooth over it in a way that is kind of blurring to your pores, but I do have to make sure to really kind of push it in there, otherwise it will kind of sit on top of it and make it look even bigger. And a lot of foundation looks like behaves that way. So it gives a really nice texture. I think it doesn't look really heavy on the skin. Again, you know, I'm wearing pretty light coverage, and so I don't have to use a ton of product. If my face is a little bit more moisturized, one pump can definitely cover it fine. Today my face was a little bit drier and it felt like I was kind of running out, so I had to actually use a little bit more than I usually do. But overall, it's a nice foundation. I would not pay full price for it. I don't think it's going to meet everybody's needs. It doesn't seem to have, you can build up the coverage a little bit, but I don't know that it's gonna go, you know, as high coverage as most of the other things that I swatched on my arm today would. And the shade range on the pale end is not gonna cover everybody. So overall, I do like it. I'll continue wearing it, and I especially like it's something that I can like smear on with my hands, because that means I can get it on my face quite quickly without having to like have a clean, damp beauty blender, sponge, whatever at the ready. And when I'm trying to do my makeup quickly, that's always a nice thing. So I do like it. There are a lot of good things about it, but I do think it's overpriced. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, whatever. If you've tried it out, what shade worked or did not work for you. I would love to hear from you in the comments. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you soon.